Hello movie fans. Today's video is about a thriller, action, mystery, adventure movie from the year 2004 called National Treasure. We might as well add comedy and romance because why not? The movie is about Benjamin Gates, who comes from a family of treasure hunters, on a quest for the treasure of the century that will make him rich beyond our wildest dreams. I'm talking Ferraris and a giant castle type of rich here. We open on a rainy night with a young Benjamin, looking around his grandparents' attic. He finds a carefully wrapped copy of an Indiana Jones book, but suddenly gets needlessly scared by his grandfather, who tells him that he's not supposed to be here, but Benjamin wants to know the story, and we should too. So Grandpa agrees to take us on a journey through time. It's 1832. Charles Carroll, who was the last surviving signer of the American Declaration of Independence, was on his way to meet with the President of the United States for an urgent matter. He was on his final breaths, and couldn't find the President, so he had no choice but to confide to his Uber driver Thomas Gates, and tell him a secret. A treasure that had been fought over for centuries, by every possible civilization you could imagine. It grew larger, every time it changed hands. We should just pass it around until it's large enough for everyone to get rich. But inexplicably, it got tired of all the fighting and simply vanished. Many centuries passed, the Crusaders randomly stumbled upon the treasure, chilling in a basement in Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. In order to protect it, aka keep it to themselves, they smuggled it into Europe and rebranded themselves as the Knights Templars. They then smuggled it into America, and rebranded themselves as the Freemasons. To protect it from the British, they came up with a series of complicated clues and hints to its location, one of which happens to be the secret Mr. Charles Carroll entrusted to his Uber driver. Why would he wait until he's got like 5 minutes to live, and then decide to tell the President a secret this important, is beyond me. Grandpa then tries to shove some conspiracy theories down our throats, but gets interrupted by Benjamin's father, who is clearly sick and tired of his family, chasing the treasure like fools for generations until it ruined them, pretty sure it will vanish as soon as it sees them arguing. Benjamin out of the blue decides to become a Knight Templar, I think the correct term is Freemason. They rebranded, remember? He was not paying attention to the story I guess. Grandpa then proceeds to knight the young Benjamin. The real movie finally opens with an older Sir Benjamin Gates, somewhere in the Arctic Circle. It's not Antarctica by the way I googled it. He is with his team of fellow Tomb Raiders. Riley, the only guy who knows how computers work. That was a thing back in the day. And Ian, the man who is bankrolling the entire trip. They are looking for a ship called the Charlotte, which is one of the clues that leads to the treasure. They sweep the area with the help of metal detectors, until they find the ship's bell. They then enter the ship after digging it out of the snow, and get to the cargo hold expecting to find the treasure, but the movie can't end here unfortunately. Instead, they find nothing but gunpowder barrels inside. Benjamin activates detective mode, and can't help but wonder why is the ship's captain, guarding a random gunpowder barrel with his dead corpse. He then opens said barrel and finds a pipe. And immediately recognizes it as another clue to the treasure's location, and gets excited. Ian on the other hand, is disappointed. Benjamin then proceeds to uncover the next clue from the pipe's handle, which turns out to be a riddle. After brainstorming ideas about the possible meaning of the riddle, they conclude that the next clue is written on the back of the American Declaration of Independence with invisible ink. Ian suggests that they should steal it, get what they need from it and return it. He tries to get Benjamin on board by reminding him of all the glory he stands to gain, once he finds the treasure, but Benjamin is reluctant to the idea.
No.
The situation quickly escalates. Ian decides to lock them in the cargo hold, since they are becoming a hindrance from then on. They manage to escape through the smuggler's hold and avoid getting barbecued with gunpowder. Ian leaves with his snow trucks, and our heroes walk back home. Back in America, Ben is trying to warn the authorities about Ian's plan, but no one takes him seriously. He then goes to the National Archives, to meet with Dr. Abigail Chase, and explains the situation to her, but she turns him down as well. So Ben decides to steal the Declaration of Independence himself. Riley says that it can't be done, because the Declaration of Independence is protected behind layers and layers of anti-theft measures. But Ben is going to take advantage of an anniversary event, taking place that weekend in the National Archives, and attempt to steal the document when everyone will be distracted. How convenient. They then go on to make preparations for the heist. Doing science, chemistry, taking pictures, eating disgusting food, sending gifts, and hacking into security systems with the help of some very dated hardware. Bear with me. It's the night of the anniversary. Ben manages to get inside the building as a maintenance worker first, then as a guest attending the event. Ian on the other hand, opted for a different approach, one that involves guns, explosives, and the sewers. Ben goes to chat with Dr. Abigail, in order to steal her fingerprints and get access to the elevators. And decides to act in the most suspicious way possible for no apparent reason, other than to get a romantic interest for our protagonist. And we cut to Ian, destroying and blowing every obstacle on his way to the archives. Ben then gets to the vault door, but it's protected by a password. He tries to guess the correct password, out of a combination of 11 letters, and succeeds. How convenient. He grabs the document, but bumps into Ian as he's getting back to the elevator. One of Ian's men shoots Ben, but you guessed right, nothing happens. Ben does some power tooling and extracts the document from the housing, and prepares to leave the building. Dr. Abigail senses that something is wrong with Ben's behavior, decides to investigate. Ben is hiding in a souvenir shop trying to avoid her, when he conveniently finds a rack of replicas of the Declaration of Independence that look just like the one he's holding. How convenient. He then rushes out of the building, but Abigail follows him and grabs the document from his hands. Archive security have finally caught up with the mess that Ian and Ben made inside the building, and sound the alarm. Ian, while he prepares to leave the crime scene empty-handed, notices Abigail outside holding the document and yelling for help. They kidnap the doctor, and after a van versus food truck chase scene in Washington streets, Ben manages to save Abigail. She's convinced Ian has the real Declaration of Independence, but Ben assures her he doesn't. The authorities, meanwhile, are on Ben's tail. Since he paid with a credit card back at the souvenir shop, so Ben decides to go to his father's house. His father has had enough with this treasure nonsense, as do most of the viewers at this point of the movie. He tells them to stop wasting their lives chasing after it, because it's just a myth. Ben persists. His father tells him he's a disappointment.
I refuse to believe that.
We finally get to that part, where a clue is hidden on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Ben and Abigail successfully uncover the clue using the power of heat and juice.
We need more juice.
I need more heat.
The clue they uncovered only leads to yet another clue. And in this case, they need some old letters that Ben's father just happens to own. But unfortunately, he donated the letters to an institute in Philadelphia. And that's where our heroes head next. Since they are wanted fugitives, they hire a kid to decipher the clues for them, in exchange for a few bucks. Nothing wrong there. Ian, who managed to crack the riddle's meaning because of capital letters, just happens to be there, right on time to figure out what the kid is doing. He then bribes him outright in exchange for information. Nothing wrong there. Riley relays the message to Benjamin and Abigail, who all of a sudden, went from completely against to completely okay with tagging along a wanted fugitive, who just stole the Declaration of Independence.
I'm not going anywhere.
Go, shoot.
They manage to decode the message with relative ease, which is a random brick, up the rooftop of the Independence Hall in Philadelphia. However, the said brick is only noticeable at a specific time of the evening, and our heroes are 1 hour late. Riley, though, to everyone's surprise, explains to the group that they are right on time because of some mumbo-jumbo about daylight savings, that puts them an hour early. How convenient. Ben then goes to retrieve the brick, and inside it, he finds gaming glasses that Benjamin Franklin invented. He then uncovers yet another clue, hidden on the back of the Declaration of Independence with the help of the glasses. This document is way ahead of its time. They notice Ian's men standing outside the building looking for them, and decide to split up. After another pursuit on foot, Ian manages to get the declaration from Abigail, who dropped it when she bumped into a cyclist, and Benjamin gets arrested by the authorities, who tracked his father's car. Back at the precinct, while Agent Sadusky explains the gravity of the situation Ben got himself into, they receive a phone call from Ian, who proposes to meet up with Ben, on top of an aircraft carrier in New York, to combine the declaration and the gamer glasses, and uncover the next clue. The FBI agrees to play ball. We head to New York City on the next scene for the rendezvous, but despite all the FBI's efforts to secure the perimeter where the meeting is taking place, Ian still manages to create enough commotion for Ben to escape. It turns out, it was Abigail and Riley's idea, to get Ben out of the FBI's custody, by enlisting the help of Ian. But in return, they promised him the treasure. Ben then meets up with Ian, and tries to bluff his way out of the deal. Ian is not falling for it, and has Ben's father hostage just in case, forcing Ben to come clean about the remaining clues to the treasure. The whole gang then reunites inside a church to uncover the next clue, which is a tomb right underneath them. They remove the casket, and reveal a secret tunnel that leads further down the church's infrastructure. They go down the rabbit hole, and come across an old damaged stairway, that stretches 5 stories down. After debating over the structural integrity of the place, They proceed to go downstairs, but the vibrations of a passing subway starts breaking down the already weakened structure. We are nearing the end of the movie too, so it's about time for some of the side characters to die. Funny how everything is breaking down around them, but the elevator that is only supported by ropes is able to hold the weight of 6 people with no problem. How convenient. Ben, who is 5 minutes away from discovering the greatest treasure ever found, decides that it's no longer worth it and wants to go back up. But Ian forces him to keep going. They reach a dead end, and realize that there is nothing of value in there, aside from 200 years old indestructible rope. Ian decides to leave the whole gang and pursue other projects. Ben's father pulls an award-winning poker face to get Ian to take them upstairs with him, but he still abandons them. Ben then looks around the room, and spots an eye symbol, painted on the wall. He presses a button that magically still works after centuries of neglect and unlocks the door, only to end up yet again stuck in a room with no way out. He finally gives up. Ben's father tells him that it's the journey that matters and that they will keep looking for the treasure no matter what. Abigail is on board. Riley reminds everyone that they are still stuck with no way out, but the thought triggers Ben into thinking that it makes no sense for all these clues to take them to a place that leads nowhere, and right at that moment, he sees some etchings on the wall that look just like the pipe he uncovered from the ship, and wonders,
Could it really be that simple?
He then inserts the pipe into the corresponding slots, which finally leads to the treasure room. Stored underneath one of the busiest streets in New York are priceless artifacts that sat there surprisingly undisturbed for at least 2 centuries. That's a lot of bitcoins. Riley spots a set of stairs. I'll trust ropes more in this movie, just saying. They then get upstairs and call the FBI. Ben wants everyone involved to get out scot-free. Agent Sadusky tells him that no matter what, someone has to go to prison. So Ben decides to scapegoat Ian in exchange for a get-out-of-jail-free card. The treasure is then divided amongst all major museums in the world. Ben gets to stay out of prison, gets the girl, and at last the respect and recognition he and his family deserve. The end. I hope you enjoyed my take on this movie. More critical recaps are expected as soon as I find myself willing to waste hours sifting through footage and coming up with a script. Thank you all.
Go, go, shoot.